Hello everybody and welcome to the Adventures of Drawing. I will draw a little scene for you using a variety of pencils, a smudging tool and an eraser. So without further ado, let's dive right into this, shall we? Okay, starting by setting myself a little frame for the scene, not completely rectangular, but good enough. And then I'll go into the sky, just give it a general value, a light to medium value. Just use a very flat area of your pencil lead and go across the scene at the upper half. Create a little transition from the very top down towards the horizon. A mid-tone right here at the top, and then a very light tone once you go lower. Like so. Alright, then we grab the smudging tool and we go across again to make the sky as smooth as possible. Getting rid of those lines, because it's very difficult, near impossible to create a completely smooth surface just with the pencil. Even with the smudging tool, it's not going to be completely smooth unless you sink many hours just in that surface, and that's really not worth it, I think. Okay, I want to try what I did yesterday, but I am going to simplify it, the scene, in order to maybe be able to what I initially wanted to do. Changing it up in the foreground, I'm going from the left to the right today, just to make it different from yesterday. Now, what I'm just thinking is maybe I could make this easier on myself by having angles that point downwards more. Maybe a little bit like this. And then up here, I should not make too many overlapping areas. I would just want this to be the ridge of a mountain. And it's supposed to be all the same mountain and not separate mountains like yesterday. And then down here, we have all sorts of not necessarily pyramid shapes, but from this angle, this looks like pyramids piling up, gravel piling down to the base of the mountain that falls down over the years. And that's also where we are going to have some trees. Don't know how to put them in yet, but I'll just try something out and see if it works. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe it isn't. That's gotta I'll just have to do it and see. Okay, maybe some indications of shapes in here. I don't know. I'll have to do this by creating shadows anyway. So I'm going to create the shadows now. So I was thinking from what angle the light came yesterday, but I can't even remember that. I think it came from the right, so we're going to make it come from the left today. If it's the same angle, that doesn't really matter. I just thought maybe using the other side would change things up more for today. But if it's the same as yesterday, that's not a problem either. Okay. Now I want to have some very elongated shadows to the right side here to just show that all those areas belong to the same mountain, and it's different peaks on the same mountain right here. Those small areas, of course, they don't reach all the way down, but the larger ones like this one, or maybe this one, should go down further as well. Right here, this is all just triangles coming down from the peaks and then going down to where there's a crease. That's the other end of the upper side, and from there you just pull two lines down that meet each other, and there you've got your triangle of an area in the mountains where there's the shadow. Okay, so that's this right here. It's this area right there. This one, there's a very small one right here. Over here. All right, I noticed we have a new subscriber. I'm very glad about that. Welcome on in. I'm happy that people find the channel and enjoy what I'm doing here. I hope you enjoy your stay. Okay, this right here, and this area right there. And that's all the shadows. Maybe I'll create some more shadow areas right here. Okay, and those right sides of those piles of gravel are going to be dark as well. Those are in the shadow. Make that a little darker. Maybe like this. And this one over here. Right there. Don't worry about going into the foreground. That's just a loose setup. I don't have to orient myself towards this exact line later. And if I want to, I can still erase those lines that crossed into the foreground. Okay, over here. Now maybe a little darker area right there. Maybe something in here, like so. Let's just take all those lines that I made before. Let's use those as orientation for areas of inclination. Oh, I forgot this area right here. Like so. And then I made this line earlier, where there's going to be a darker area. This one right there maybe goes down like this, and one over here. Anything else? Nope. Okay. Let me just give the entire side of the mountain that faces us just a value. Maybe next time I should make it all darker than the sky, even the light areas in the mountains. Right now they've got the exact value of the mountains and they're just separated by this outline. But I think you can recognize the shapes of the mountains, so it's not too big of a problem for the eye to interpret those shapes. I think you can see them quite clearly. And once I add a couple more details, you're going to see the volumes of the mountains even better. Okay, I'm leaving those left sides of the triangles completely light, or I'm going to add something in later, but they are pointed towards the light more than the light areas of the mountains right here, so they have to be lighter than those lights. Okay, now just going into add a couple details into the face of the mountain. Just some cracks going along, going down the face of the mountains. Most of them start up there and then end somewhere in the middle, but sometimes there are also cracks down here and in between. Sometimes I go sideways, but mostly they're vertical or following the inclination of the mountainside. Down here a little bit, maybe something like this, a little bit of a different structure. Right here as well, maybe. Just to change things up, and a little bit more right there. Okay, something right here. And now you can see, as I added those details to the lighter faces of the mountain, they are separated from the sky. And right there, I liked when there was a light area right here, inclined to the sun again. That looks really neat, I think. So I'll leave this in. Okay, coming down here, and then right there, something like so. Okay, I want some difference in my line quality. I made those lines very soft. Now I'm going to add some more sharp lines Not too many, since I've got a lot of detail in those mountain faces already, but just to give some variety in the details. Something like this. Alright, next thing, I'm going to take the 3B pencil and add those same details, those cracks, in the shadow areas right here. Maybe I should hold the pencil at this angle to not block the vision for you. I want you to see what I'm doing. Right there. Maybe there's a really dark area right here, so I'll cross-hatch this. And then a couple of cracks coming down here. A couple over there. A little bit of a different structure, going all the way squiggly. Something up here, in here, and over there. Maybe a little bit of a darker area right here. Not too dark, but just a little darker than the regular shadows, to indicate a little bit of a different type of inclination. Maybe right here as well. Like so. And then some cracks in there. Over here to the left. All right. Now I have to think about how I'm going to put those trees down in here. I think I'm going to go with evergreens. And they would be just climbing up there like this, I think. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll start over here at the left and just draw in a line of evergreens right there. And another one in here, just zigzagging up and down. We really can only see the entire shapes of those trees. We can't make out any detail in the trees. So each zigzag is an entire tree. Maybe one up here or two. Right now I'm only doing this for the light areas that have the inclination to the left side. I'm going to add in the areas to the right side later with a darker pencil. Those climb up right there and they go down right here, and there's another line of trees right here. I'm filling in a little bit of the area below those trees because I want it to look like there's an entire area of trees, not just a line. The line that we can see is the very top of this entire area that we can see, where the trees poke out against whatever is behind them which is mostly just the ground of the gravel pile. Down here, something over here, down there. Right here, maybe something over there. This one goes all the way up and down. Maybe it bifurcates here and joins up with this other tree line. Okay, now I'll take the smudging tool and just make those bottom areas a little smoother. Give those light areas of the gravel piles some more value, just a little bit. I want them still to be very light. So they keep their inclination. Okay. Now maybe I should make those left areas just a little bit darker to set them apart a little bit more. Since now that I put something into the left areas, those have become a little bit darker. And I want to up the contrast to the right areas right here. Like so. Right there. Okay. Now I'll just do the same thing right here. Just going in there with some zigzag lines, putting in the tree lines. If they went up here all the way, then most likely they're just going down the other way as well. Down the other side. Maybe some more down here. This one goes down all the way. I'll also make the areas below those lines a little darker to give them sort of the value of the trees, to indicate that the entire area is full of trees. Now something over here. Down there. And this line up here. Maybe it goes all the way to the edge of the gravel pile. Down there. This one joins up with this area. And then I'll make it darker again. Okay, on to the last part right here. Something down there. This one goes down here. Maybe those join as well. And then go down here. This one doesn't go all the way, so I'm not going to join those. But I want to have another bifurcating tree line right here. This one maybe goes down here, like so. Okay, make those areas darker. All right. I'm not going in with the smudging tool on this side because I think it's smooth enough. It doesn't even have to be smooth really. And those right areas are dark enough. So I'm not going to make them any darker. Okay, that's the background, and now we're going into the foreground. And I'll just stick to the line that I made earlier. So I'm going to erase all the lines that I made cross into the foreground before. Just fill this in a little bit, so there's no gap between the background and the foreground. Okay. Now, I'm just going to make some indications of the terrain with the HB pencil. Whenever I have got a wave in the outline of the foreground, I'm going to make a line that goes into the volume of the foreground to create another level. And maybe another layer comes in from the left side up there. This one bifurcates down here, and there's another one down here, maybe like this. Okay, now I'll just quickly give the entire area a value that is so that it's not completely light, because only reflection of lights are completely light, and I only use the light and completely untouched whiteness of the piece of paper for reflections of light. Even in here, in those light areas, I darkened it all up a little bit when I used the smudging tool. Okay. Let's get it a little darker everywhere, but I don't want to go too dark, or at least not yet with the HB pencil. Wait, I do want to create a sort of transition though from the upper parts of each layer down here in the foreground, going down a little bit to create a smooth separation of the layers. This one going over here and down there. Fading into the other one. Up here, the next layer. Those fade into each other as well, right there. And then right here, this upper area is a little darker. Now I'm going to make those lines in the other direction, or more like holding the pencil from the upside down. And I think it's a little, or not just a little, I think it's harder to make the lines right next to each other like this. So maybe, or more like very probably, they're going to be a little more messy over here, but I'll go a little slower, and then I just managed to create this transition from the top of this elevation to the lower part. Now just to the last part right here. Making it go down, join up with the other area right there, and then make it go down right here. All right, now I'm taking the 3B pencil, and let's start from the left side right here. And make a couple of lines there. Up there we even increase the darkness, the value, to separate the foreground from the background. And then we make some lines go down to indicate some more differences and elevations in the terrain, since each major quote-unquote wave in the ground has very small waves on itself. And that's what I'm doing right here. Just creating more layers in this foreground, more detail. This area right here. Let's get some lines in there. Maybe some zigzags like that, to have just a different structure, different area in the ground. And there's the next line, which is the next ridge of an elevation. And I'm going over here, also just with some slightly curved lines. And I'm making sure that I'm placing more lines up here than down there. For one, to make the terrain darker up here, and secondly, because our view on the terrain up here and up here, up here, up here, on every ridge of the wave in the ground, our view on it is much flatter than here. So those minor waves in the ground sort of stack up right on top of each other, whereas here the perceived space between them is larger for the observer. Okay, almost done with that. Get this area right here. Just some lines. Don't think about it too much. And then the last one. Can you see it like this? I think, or maybe I should go like that right here. This way you can see it. Just this last bit of elevation in the terrain, like so. All right. Now let's add some more detail. Little patches of grass here and there. Maybe right here on this edge, right there, going over here to that side. Something down there. Just a couple blades of grass. And the occasional different type of grass in here. Maybe like so. Down there, just like this. Fill in those values at the bottom to stop the blades of grass from floating. Maybe we see some down here. Going all the way down, out of the frame. Make it look like the landscape continues where we don't draw it. Make things go out of your frame. Make them go out of the picture and disappear. If you draw from imagination, makes it look like you picked a part of the landscape you just stood in. Makes it look like it continued where you didn't draw it. Looks more natural then, and less like you thought of something that you just put into a space on the piece of paper. Okay, those blades of grass go out here and some more down there, just like so. Okay, there's one last thing I want to do, which is I want there to be a fence. Maybe the first post stands right here, made out of some really old and crooked wood. Next one's over there, maybe up to here. And let's continue this line. Maybe it goes back here, and right here it overlaps with the background. And there's another one right there, one up here, and the next one starts below this ridge of the foreground, and maybe we see the top of another one right back there. Okay, now I'm going to erase the areas to the left of those fence posts so that we can have a nice light area. Gotta make sure to not make them too wide with this huge eraser. Maybe, oh, yep, that one got very wide. Maybe right here, and this one down there, like so. Okay. Now I'll go in with the 3B pencil and create this shadow side right here. I'm just going up and down, just like when I draw the tree bark, because there's some structure in those posts made out of old wood. Like so. And over here, this one right there, and this one down here. Then I'll take the HB pencil and just very lightly indicate some structure in the light area. Just so that it looks like really old and withered wood. And also, of course, to darken those areas down a bit. Okay. Then taking the 3B pencil again, I'll draw a line between those fence posts. Some metal wire that's not necessarily completely straight. It bends and stays in this bent shape, so we don't have to make a straight line right here. Okay, there we go. That's our drawing for today. And I'm really satisfied right there with how this mountainside in the background turned out. That's not 100%, of course, but it's pretty much what I envisioned yesterday. And I'm happy that I tried this out today and just went into it with the mindset of really sort of simplifying those shapes down back there and not having too many great areas where the mountains overlap, so that it looks more like one mountain range going from the left to the right. Okay. Down here, the lower area. Let me get rid of the eraser residue. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for today's drawing. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the journey. If you find yourself coming back to the stream, please consider subscribing, leaving a like on the video, Also, drop down in the comments and tell me what you think about what I'm doing here. Let's have a conversation about drawing in general, about the motifs, about the technique, or maybe whatever else comes to your mind. I hope that you maybe got some inspiration for your own techniques or motifs out of this, or maybe you just had the video running in the background as ASMR to get some different type of work done for yourself, or you just watched it to relax and take a break from the stress of the day. I'm glad, however, you used it. With that said, thanks again for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day and bye bye.